Have you ever been in a department store? Esther remembers it vividly. Found the most beautiful blouse she had ever seen. And when she saw the price tag, she said a very bad word. You would have edited it from the tape. She was angry that they would deprive her of this blouse by putting that kind of a price tag on it. And so her belief that she needed the money for the blouse was a much more resistant path than if she could have just found a way to appreciate the fabric and appreciate the blouse and appreciate the people who made it and appreciate the people who distributed it and appreciate the person who had the idea of it and appreciate the store that put it there where she could see it and appreciate the idea that she could wear it. In other words, you make it harder for yourselves when you think you have to figure out how and where and when and who. If you could just take the vibrational reality at its fullness, if you could just, that's why we just want to get you in the vortex where you'll have full view of everything that you've put there, you see. So it's an interesting thing. You could have 10 subjects in your life, 9 of them that are pretty worrisome and 1 that's really positive, and you could focus upon the one that's positive and use it as your reason to be in the vortex, and the other 9 would solve themselves because all of those problems put requests for all of those solutions. We're not kidding you. Do you understand law of attraction? Do you understand the cooperative component that law of attraction is always gathering? Do you, first of all, do you accept that you are vibrational beings? Yes. Do you accept that your emotion is your indicator of your relationship with your vortex? So can you see how worry or concern or discomfort about anything is an indication that you're not in the vortex? So there's no subject to have other than how I can get into the vortex. We could write thousands of books. There are millions of people that are reading so much information about how to do things differently. And we say, get in the vortex and then act. Get in the vortex and then think. Get in the vortex and then speak. Get in the vortex, get in the vortex, get in the vortex. So let's get in the vortex. Yes. So do we have to talk about money to get you in the vortex?
No, not at all.
And in fact, it would be easier to get you in the vortex talking about almost anything else.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
So what is the subject?
So this is what I wanted to know then. I thought I must be messing up somewhere with the money part, because I can be in the vortex often, and it's a lot of fun being in the vortex.
Well, what happens is you get in the vortex and then you think about money, to which you have resistance, and the vortex spits you out.
So do I have resistance about money?
Clearly. Otherwise, you wouldn't be talking about it with us.
Okay.
You'd be talking.
Yeah. So this is what So this is what I wanted to talk to you about. So I do have resistance about money then.
So,
because I feel so happy most of the time. It's like everything's wonderful,
and most things are going well.
Yes.
But what area of your life are things not going as well? Money.
Well, it's just I guess. I guess money. But when you get back to Esther and her blouse, would you suggest she go and visit the blouse? You know, because, you know, she wanted to get this blouse and felt that it was very valuable, and so she's really appreciating it and everything. Then would she go and visit the blouse often?
Well, now, that's a really good question. And the answer is, if seeing the blouse makes her feel better, it's a good idea. If thinking about the blouse makes her feel better, it's a good idea. If it enrages her, then it's not a good idea. Mm-hmm. If it amplifies her feeling of shortage of money, then it's not a good idea. If it amplifies her feeling of abundance, it's a good idea. This is why we say you have to sort of work your way into the vortex, work your way in whatever way you can get in there, and then sort of shore it up. Mm-hmm. So here's the way we would have played that with Esther if we had been teaching about the vortex. That was long before Esther was receiving us in this way. But let's make this a now experience. So there's a process that we offer called the focus wheel that we believe is the best process that we offer for getting into the vortex. And the reason that it's a particularly good process is because the process itself mimics the focus wheel. And the focus wheel mimics the vortex itself. They're both circular. It's about energy moving. And so envision a big circle on a big piece of paper, which represents being in the vortex. And outside of this circle, let's make the statement, and we would encourage you to write it. Write the statement which speaks your out of the vortex sentiment in the moment. Now, since we understand that every subject is two subjects, what is wanted and lack of it, if something in your life is particularly pointing your awareness to the absence of something you want, on the other end of that is the equally powerful desire. That's the way the contrast of this universe works. When you know what you don't want, you know what you do want. If you sort of know what you don't want, you sort of know what you do want. If you really know what you don't want, you really know what you do want. It's all this focusing process. So outside the vortex, we would encourage Esther in this example to have written, I think it is, and poke around at it with a stick because it's helpful. You can get power out of your awareness of what you do not want. I think it is outrageous that these people think that this article of clothing should cost this much. That's what she would have written. So that's the way she was feeling. So she would write that in that outside box. Now, let's poke at it a little more. Let's see if we can find any deeper vibration within it. It's just not right that anyone would ask this much for this, was the sentiment. Well, it's deeper than that. I am furious that I do not have the money to buy this blouse. Let's take it deeper. It's just awful that my employer doesn't give me enough money that I can even live well enough to have the things that I want. In other words, there's a lot of layers in vibration, isn't there? And so, but the bottom line is, I am outraged. I'm so mad at myself that I'm not in a position to have this thing that I want. Boom, there, that would popped into place for her at that time. I'm so mad at myself that there are so many things like this blouse that I want that I cannot just have right now. So, might have rung a few bells. Now, whenever you know what you don't want, on the other side of it is an equivalent what I do want. So, and in other words, there in this vortex of creation is a true desire that has been launched, and Source holding it, intending it, waiting for Esther in this case to catch up with it. So in the center of this big circle that you've drawn, in the center, you want to write that opposite end of that stick. In other words, looking at what I want through the eyes of Source, what is the purest in the vortex way of stating it? Well, I know what I don't want. I am so mad at myself that I cannot afford the things I want. What's the other side of it? I'm so pleased in my capability of being the creator of a reality that's pleasing to me. Pretty good, huh? I'm very pleased at my capability of creating my reality as I want it to be. So you write that in the center circle. Now, beginning this process, if Esther were standing in that place that we've described, do you think it's more likely that she's still outside in her vibrational attitude or inside? What do you think? If she's like most of you, she would still really be outside because she knows what she doesn't want, which means she knows what she does want, but that's the vibration that is really the most active. And how do you know that? She's ornery right here in this moment. She's still angry. How else do you know it? She can't afford the blouse. Exactly. In other words, the manifestation is the indication also. We think it's lovely that manifestations are your indicator of what you're doing vibrationally every single time. So now the focus wheel work begins. Now Esther would find a statement that she already believes that matches the center statement. So she has to find something that gets her on the wheel. You know the merry-go-rounds in the playgrounds? They're going really, really fast and you try to get on and they just blow you off in the bushes. But if they would slow it down enough that you could get on, then you could get on and then speed it up. Well, that's what this focus wheel is like. You try to find something that matches this center statement that you already believe. So Esther could say something like, I can have anything I want off in the bushes. Because she doesn't believe that. She would like to believe it, but she didn't, in this example, doesn't believe it. It just sucks that they're charging so much for this blouse. Well, now you're not even trying. My life works for me in many ways. Sort of doesn't sound like it's about the blouse, but at least it gets her on the wheel. I am a capable person. Many things are working out for me the way I want them to. Even better, still on the wheel.